Ryan, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks. Are we live?
We're live. We hit the record button, man, and it's so funny. I chat for so long before I hit record with so many people, and I'm like, we probably should have been recording this
Right.
conversation
Yeah.
already.
Yes. I've started in Riverside. You can hit record and it's got the big intimidating countdown. And so uh, I just had a really big guest last week. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start recording. So when they get in, we're rolling and they can say all sorts of great stuff about me. And I'll capture that.
Who was the guest?
Pat Flynn. Not sure if
Oh
you've
yeah,
heard of him.
yeah, he's been on the show.
Of course he has. Of course you've had him.
It's actually,
He was like in 2015. I think that's when I started listening to his show. I was just running my video agency, and I'm the ultimate, or not the ultimate, but the quintessential entrepreneur. Always dreaming up, how can I? What other business can I do? And listening to his show is not good for me because it was just like every guest was a new business and a new idea, and I'm like, oh man, this is so. So it was really the first podcast I ever listened to, like so many of the episodes. And then when I started my podcast the next year, it was really because I'm like, I want to sound like Pat. I want to have a platform like Pat. I just think what he's doing is so awesome. And if I can do that for other people, how incredible would that be? So all these years later, he's been on this like short list of how awesome would it be to get Pat on my show. And I got him on it, and it was really fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. He is actually one of the most downloaded episodes I ever had on my show. And like I've had
Wow.
some seriously big names, and like he's
Yeah.
up there with them. It's like Kurt Angle just recently, he's I think he's the most of all time. And then
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Pat's up there. And like when I
Yeah.
released
Well,
it,
I mean,
I was like,
yeah.
nobody I was because in my world, this is how I know Pat. Like I met Pat probably 6 or 7 years ago at Podfest, and we hung out during
Yeah.
the VIP party because I have a mutual friend with him, and like I have this like flip book from like a photo booth, and like I'm standing next to Pat Flynn, and we're doing all this weird stuff.
Yeah.
And like other than that, I didn't realize like how big of a reach he had. I didn't realize like what he
Yeah.
had built and all that stuff.
Yeah, man.
And so I didn't know what was going to happen. Like his team reached out to me and they're like, "Do you want Pat on the show?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it was a incredible conversation. Like the guy is a wealth of knowledge, and I know you're
Yeah.
going to be a wealth of knowledge in this conversation. But I want to start out by asking you this question: what's the best dad joke you ever told that really landed?
Oh man. Here's the problem with my bio. I tell people, I'm great. That I'm like really good impromptu. I've got to have like, two or three just like in my back pocket for this moment, because I was on a show the other day and she had alluded to, she's like, hey, we'll get to this later in the show. We'll ask. And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, wait, what's the best one I got? I'm like, bro, I got nothing for you right now. So next question. What do you got?
It is a reaction thing. One thing I started to do, and my stepkids just roll their eyes now, but I realize it still hits because we were out down at the shore a couple weeks ago for our summer vacation, and my nephew was there, and he was rolling. He thought it was hilarious. So like my whole thing is like I'll see something, like I'll see AirPods and be like, yeah, when I invented the AirPods. So like it's always like, yeah, back when I invented this thing. Like we were driving to a friend's house last night, and we drove past this big cannon that's outside of like a library, and I was like, oh yeah, when I donated that cannon because I used it in the war, like just like stupid stuff like that. And I laugh at it, and to me, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters. But wait, was this just an opportunity for you to be able to share a couple of your dad jokes? And
No, I
is that
figured
really
that
what
you
the
can steal them now. You can start doing these things.
what a
That's that,
guy?
that's exactly
Well,
what it
here's
is.
here's what's amazing, interesting. For the last, I don't even know, 10 years, probably last 10, 12 years, I've been helping or directing the elementary school talent show in our community. And my job is to like I hire or I like recruit I get the hosts, five, four, five, six different fifth graders, and then I audition all the acts and help with the show order. But my main responsibility is the script for our MCs, for the hosts of the show, and it's full. I mean, it is chock full of all of my best dad jokes. But put on the spot, I'm just like, oh shoot, what is one of the I do? Oh, it's not even a dad joke. I'm just gonna. It's a hard pass, man. It's a hard pass for me.
Dude, it was funny because when I saw that in your bio, and I was like, "Oh, that's." I'm gonna ask him, and I'm like, "I'm gonna put him on the spot, and he's not gonna have one, and this is what's gonna
Yeah,
happen."
yeah. Look at that. Spoken into existence. Thanks a lot.
But our connection is, I think really speaks to the power of live events. You spoke at an
Mm,
event that I had spoken at many years in the past,
yeah.
and everybody was like, "You got to know Justin. You got to know Justin." And I think you ended up reaching out on Facebook. And it's just really the power of showing up in a room. And I know you're really big on, getting into the room and meeting people and doing your thing, whether it be at a local or a national type of event. When did you realize like the power of live events?
Ooh. Hmm. I I went to, I've gone to, when I launched my business in 2005, I went to my first like national convention the next year. So in 2006, I went to Vegas, and it was a bunch of filmmakers, videographers that specialize in event filmmaking. And I went to that event and I got to meet a ton of people, and it was super fun. And I was like, this is amazing. So I just made that like, I've got to be a part of stuff like this, so I can be educated, so I can just have a deep network, so I can learn. And if I need to hire people, if I need to refer people, like what a great spot for me to invest time in. Well, then years go by, I've gone to all of these events, and then I start going to very specific events to get more video clients myself for
Sure.
people to hire our agency. And I had Mike Kim, mutual friend, on my show, I don't know, quite a few years ago, 5, 6 years ago. And we're talking, and we get to the end of the show. We're done recording. And he's like, dude, I've got I host an event. It's next month. It's in Austin. You should totally come. And I'm like, oh, dude, and he like tells me about it. He's like, I have 40 people. And as soon as he said 40, I'm like, dude, you lost me at 40 people. I'm like, I'm not gonna fly, whatever. And he starts like name dropping, not bragging, but like he knew that I followed Ray Edwards. That's how I heard of Mike. He's like, Ray Edwards is gonna be there, and he names a couple other names. And I'm like, wait, all three of those people? I read that guy's book. I love all of Ray's stuff. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should go to this event. So anyway, long story long, I went to the event, and it was, I kid you not, it was the most powerful event that I had been to up until that point, like a business / networking event. I think it was like a 2.5 day thing, but it was amazing because I got to meet everybody there. I had a conversation with literally every single person there. I left that meeting or that event, and I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'd wanted to create an event like I had attended back in 2006, where there'd be 1,000 people. But I'm like, man, that's going to take me a while to get 1,000 people in a room. But I went to his event, and I was like, I can do 40 people. So I reached out to all of my filmmaker friends and network. And, at that point I had the podcast. And so it's just a little bit easier to say, hey, I'm going to host an event at our studio in Detroit. And I'm like, we're not having more than 40 people. That's it. I ended up having, I think I had close to 30 people register. All these people came. I'm like, and they came from all over. I had people from Canada and Mexico and all over the United States. The moment that I realized that this was like just unbelievable was we were like day 2 of the event. I'm standing in the kitchen, sort of like dining area of the studio, looking into the production. We have like these windows looking into the production area. And I just see all of these conversations happening. Like not me, but all of these friendships being made and conversations happening. And I couldn't believe, number one, that I had the honor and privilege to like be the facilitator. And then, just knowing that friendships were being made, and that event was in 2019. And to this day, there are so many friends in networks, friendships, friends, whatever you call those things, that were made at that event. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I thrive in that kind of space, and to be able to facilitate stuff like that, it's like, wow, I can't believe somebody would pay me. I can't believe people would come. Like, this is really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because when people ask me like what's the best part of your event, and it's that, right? Like seeing the connection. Angie Callen came to my event this last April, and then I saw for like weeks afterwards, it was all people at my event that were on her podcast, like the speakers, other
Yeah.
people she had met, and I was like, this is
Yeah.
the coolest thing ever. Like
Yeah.
there's true human connection happening, and I think it's just about the intention, right? And setting the right intention for that room and making sure
Yeah.
it's curated, and it's a lot of work. Like events are,
Yeah.
people will come to me like, I want to do something like this, and I just go, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's a lot. But like it's being able to meet the right people, and then also being the person to curate it, it's just absolutely life changing. Do you still
Yeah.
do your event now?
Yeah, I've done it 4 years, and last year, attendance, it's just been one of the weirdest things. I've had it almost full and then I've had it almost empty. And it's been like on and off. And last year's event, I said, hey, I'm going to do one more. We're going to do 5. Wait, I've done 5. I'm like, this is our 5th one, and then I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna like just take a beat. I'm gonna take next year off, and so the next year, that's this year. And now I'm like, usually it's around October, November, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm not doing this event. But I wanted to reassess. It was one of those things. I'm like, I need the bandwidth and the space, and so the time when my event would normally happen, I'm just gonna take that time to really say, is there still a place for this? Do I want to keep doing this? Is this the right format? Because again, it's very expensive. It takes a lot of time and energy to do it. I've gotten, people that have come, a lot of them have ended up in my mastermind, which has been amazing. But I'm like, I'm going to go to a couple of cities. I'm going to try to do some smaller meetups and see how that goes. And if people are like clamoring or I just can't not do it, then, I'm going to bring it back next year. Before this, on my way home from the studio today, before we hopped on this episode, I knew I was going to be chatting with you, and I just started thinking, I'm like, I think because we might have talked about it, I can't remember, but I'm like, I have to host a local event for people in the Detroit or just the Michigan area. There are so many incredibly talented people here. We've got like this awesome space and this awesome studio. I always think big. I'm like, okay, I'm going to open it up for everybody across the US and beyond to be able to come to the studio. I'm like, I could just like, I've got enough people locally I could fill 20, 30, 40 people in our studio and have an amazing event. So I think I might be doing something in like late November, early December for mostly like local people.
Yeah, it's once you do it, it just keeps pulling you back, and I've seen a lot of events the last couple of years really like retire. I know Mike Kim retired his
Yeah.
event, and some people in his space stopped doing it, and some big ones are closing down, and it's an interesting thing. But I think it gives way for that micro event, that smaller event with 30, 40, 50 people.
Yeah.
Where and I think it's a blessing, but it's something that pulls you in, man. After 2022, I said I'd never do it again. Now it took me 3 years to recover, and I didn't do it again until 2025. But here we are
Yep.
planning for 2026, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just that crazy thing. But let's talk a little bit about why video, man. Like, we haven't even talked about your thing yet. Obviously you're an expert in the video space. You're an expert in the storytelling space.
Total expert.
Like, what drew you into it? Like, why is that your vehicle?
Yeah, I remember being a little kid and there was something magnetic to me just pulling me into like TV, video. I never dreamed of like, being a filmmaker or like making movies or anything like that. But I remember there was this camera that came out when I was in, I think it was 2nd grade, and I think it was Fisher Price or something. It took like regular, like little like cassette tapes, and it would make video on cassette tapes. I have no idea how that technology even worked because I thought this was
Wild.
like audio only. And I just thought that was the coolest. I thought the idea of making something that you could watch on TV was the absolute coolest idea. Fast forward, into middle school, my best buddy, he gets a video camera. We start making zombie movies and just having tons of fun. And we get into high school, making more dumb movies, and it continued into college, just having a good time. But it's like hard to make videos back then because the technology just made it really difficult to edit, right? You could shoot stuff, but then you have to edit in camera, rewind to the spot where you want to like pick back up. And it was just like really awkward and just not convenient. And the good stuff was really expensive. Well, then I went to this little Christian college in Metro Detroit, graduated from there, worked in the enrollment department. And my job was really to recruit students, get more people that were interested in the college. And I thought, hey, I think I've got a good excuse to like get a video camera and a computer. So I talked to my boss. I said, hey, I could start making videos to promote the stories and the things that are happening here on campus. And he said, okay. So he bought me the stuff. And by then the technology is very different where you could plug the camera right into the computer and it was all digital and you could edit like immediately. And so it just took out that really the most annoying, frustrating part of the whole process where you're just like up and running, shooting and editing and delivering something, in the same sitting. So as I start playing around with video like that, digital video, I realized shortly thereafter, I'm like, I could do this like all day, all night, every day all the time. And I ended up leaving the college. My wife and I were newly married, and we just said, hey, let me try doing this as a business. I've never had a business, but I think I can make it work. And I started doing like all sorts of odds and ends kinds of videos. I fell into wedding filmmaking about 6 months into my business full time. And I fell in love with that. My dad passed away a few months after Andrea and I were married back in 2005 or no, 2003, sorry. And I realized that I could create a treasure for families. I could capture this event with a different perspective, just knowing how precious life is and how precious these relationships are and how precious these moments and how many other days are there where it's like all about you and this decision that you're making. And so for a bunch of years, like that's what we built the brand on, was creating these beautifully told wedding stories. And then as Andrea and I started having kids and having bigger dreams for what could life look like if we owned a home, and what about like college savings for kids and these different things. And I'm like, man, on this wedding video salary, we're one of the most expensive wedding film companies in the region, but we just needed to make a lot more money. And so we launched our corporate video brand in 2012. And for me, the thing that is true today that was true when I launched, it's always been about the story. And, you know, we work with a lot of business owners and really cool brands today, getting to the heart and soul of who they are and pulling that out. A lot of people would just say like, I don't, you know, my story's not unique. It's just like that, whatever. But like what I believe now more than ever is, especially with AI and any type of competitor, the story that you have, that is your unique advantage. And if you're not telling that story, if you're not crafting it in a way that really helps people understand who you are and why you care, why you do the work that you do, you're going to look like everybody else. You're not going to stand apart. And your story is the only thing that's you, that's yours, that you own. And so really helping people articulate that, pull it out from them, and make it in a way that gets people to lean in and say, I'm more interested in what's going on here than, you know, I know other people do this and other businesses and whatever, but something here clicked and I want to know more about this. I kind of care a little bit more about this whole thing now that I am hearing this story and understand that maybe there is something to my story.
Yeah, what's the key to getting the good stuff out of people? Like I think, like you said, people will go in and go, "My
Yeah.
story's not interesting. Who really cares?" And then you obviously, as the magic behind the camera, you're able to pull that out. Like, what is the trick? Because
Yeah.
some people they don't even realize what the story is or what it should be.
Yeah. 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 And, you know, you ask me, like, well, how'd you get in your story? Dude, I've shared that story, I don't know, 1,000 times. Right. So the trick is, and here you go, you're welcome. The trick is like, yeah, but like, why do you really care about this? So, you know, I sit across from these CEOs, not all the time anymore, but, you know, buttoned up, sweet tie. I actually have a collar on today. I don't normally, but, you know, just they're put together and they've got the sound bites. And it's like, I don't care about sound bites. The sound bite feels like a sound bite. But when you can talk like relatable to me in a language that I understand, and it's not perfect because you listen, you know, I look at my podcast episodes, I'm like, I said like 3,000 times in that episode. Like, what the heck is that all about? But that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're hanging out at Starbucks, you're you. You're not putting on a face. You're not trying to be somebody that you're not. You're not trying to sell me something. You're just like, here's who I am. And when you can get to that moment with somebody, people sense that and they can feel that. So if I were to ask you, like, dude, like, tell me, like, you know, what do you do? What do you do? And you're like, I do this. Okay, cool. Like, why do you do it? Well, yeah, I love it, man. Like, I got my own job. It's freedom, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. But like, why do you really like, what's the thing that if you didn't do this work, like what would be the itch or the scratch or the thing that you're just like, oh my gosh, you know, what would you be missing? And like, why do you care about this thing? So I think it's like, it's digging in there. And then it's just creating space for people to talk, and then just like keep letting them talk. And then when they think that they're done, just like, oh, yeah. Mirroring is an amazing technique, you know, to say stuff back to people because then they reflect for a second and then they give you more. Or you get to the end of you telling me your thing and I'm like, oh wow, that's a powerful why. What else? Just saying what else, and then be quiet typically people, just because I don't know the way that we are, we'll just be like, that's it. And then if you're quiet for a few more seconds, they said that's it, but almost like 9 times out of 10, they'll start another sentence and it actually is a little bit deeper. And it's not something that they normally share or normally say in these little sound bites. So that's part of it. It's being patient, but really I think helping people uncover like, why do you even care? Or like, tell me like, what's been one of the most meaningful stories or opportunities that you've been given because of this work? So lots of digging, lots of being patient, and then lots of like, what else?
And really good editing.
And good editing. Yeah. I mean that, yes.
It's funny if you did that to me, if you like were digging with me and like, oh, what's your why? And I told you to go, that's a pretty good why. What else? I'd be like, oh, I guess that wasn't a very good why. I need to come up with something else. Like, holy moly.
Well, so I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it like that. Like I know in the way that I explained it, it probably came off like that. But if I said like, why do you do this work? The soundbite answer is like, man, because I love the impact that people say like this and this. Oh, that's really cool. Like I had Pat on and I asked him, I'm like, tell me what's the most fulfilling part about what you do. And I knew what the answer was going to be. It was going to be similar, or I thought I knew it was going to be similar to, when this person said this one thing, or they started their show because I, gave them dude, that's amazing. And I'm not going to downplay that, but I will say like, when you strip away all of the things and all of the, the soundbite, the feedback, everything that everybody's ever said to you, like, you get up, but like, what's the thing that like, what's the drive, man? Like, when you look at like why you get to do this, like, what are you saying? What are you saying thanks about, or to who? And just like, what does that look like? And so the questions can get like a little bit like, wow, like how woo are we getting here? But the point is, what I'm trying to do when I get the opportunity to ask those questions is really navigate and find out what are they used to saying, and then can I, come at it from a little bit of a different angle to get a little bit different of a soundbite. And sometimes, usually, those little sound bites, when people think, when I like, if you and I were in a room and my camera guys were hitting record and we're just sitting across from each other, and we get to the end of the interview, I'm like, okay, well, that was the last question. You're like, whew. I'm like, how was it? And you'd be like, dude, it was actually, it was kind of fun. I was sweating at first and it felt comfortable. And I'm like, I'd say something like, well, did you, is there anything that you didn't say that you wish? And you'd be like, yeah, dude, like, the one thing that's crazy is like, blah, 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 blah. That's gold. It's like when as soon as the cameras are off and you feel like we're not recording, and that's why I'm just like, you create that space and opportunity. That's why, again, like I've started recording at the beginning, because people don't really think like, until you say, okay, we're live or we're ready, then people are like, okay, I got to stay up now. Now it's time for the sound bites. Here we go.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because the last question that I ask on every single episode, which you'll hear later, sometimes I'll get an answer and I was like, oh, I didn't do my job as the interviewer because I didn't get there. Right. And it's an interesting type of thing. And I was like, oh, well, that's a whole nother episode in and of itself. Like I didn't know that about you. So it's just a fascinating type of thing to kind of look at it that way. So what is your drive? Why do you get up every single day and continue to do this? What's the go button for you?
Yeah. I don't think you're allowed to like turn the turntables. It's like, I feel like you're, oh man. I mean, there is this work. It is so fulfilling. I feel like my own journey, being on the backside of the camera for so long, it feels amazing when you're able to pull these sound bites out from people, and people can be like totally vulnerable and emotional on camera. And I mean, it makes like, I mean, I don't know how many interviews I've done where I'm like crying and just like, I can't believe they shared that. I don't know if they've ever shared that. So, I feel this job, it's an opportunity, to create that space where somebody feels like the person on the other end really cares, and that they believe that whatever you have to share, it's worth sharing. And that's how, when I started this business, the name that I landed on, this was in like 2004, it was Epic Creative Group. And the word epic to me, it really meant, I was influenced by an author. Ironically enough, his book named Epic had not come out yet, but I went to a retreat where this was one of the themes. And I just said, everybody has these like, everybody leads these lives, and most of us don't realize how epic of lives that we're leading. And I wanted to, like, I was like, why, I want my mission to be like to help people see that, to help them see their own story. And the business model, I'm not sure how, because most people are like, my story's not that, so they're not hiring me, like, hey, make me sound epic. But when we're able to get there and I get those opportunities for people to really appreciate some of the work that they've done themselves on themselves, and to be where they're at through, all the stuff that they've been through, and to have built this business that serves people in this way. And I love to just take those moments to say, like, wow, you did that. That isn't, I know you probably heard this a bazillion times, but how special that is, right? How amazing that is, right? And sometimes they do, and other times they're just like, yeah, I mean, I, you're right. It's like, so I don't know, like we get to create these moments that they're not like everyday moments. And when we were doing weddings, it's very similar. It's like we're capturing people at like the height of their emotional, all of the emotions. And so to be able to capture that and to bottle that up, and to be able to let them look at that later and reflect on that, maybe when times are tough in their marriage, and they can look back and say, like, man, like these are the promises that we made. And, life's not perfect and it's hard, but man, what a good reminder of what we're trying to become and who we want to be. And yeah, so I think those opportunities, I started the podcast. That was a great opportunity because my production team does most of the production these days. I hardly ever go on set. I hardly ever sit across from somebody in person to interview them for the films that we're making. So for me, I was like, well, let me do a podcast because I can interview people. I can still scratch that itch. And so I still do get some of those opportunities. I mean, we're not making the epic films from a podcast like this that we would for a normal client, but I'm still able to help pull stuff out that people aren't normally seeing, I think, on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I think it's important, and I love that you do that with people, especially as entrepreneurs. We don't stop and
Yeah.
celebrate our wins, big or small. We just keep, okay, what's next?
First.
What's next? What's
Yeah.
next? How important do you think it is for an entrepreneur or CEO or whoever to pause and truly kind of take a look at their wins? Like, how important is that to every other aspect of their life?
Yeah. I think it's crucial. I wish I had the statistic or the fact or whatever. It was probably like, just like one of those really smart people I follow on Instagram that talked about reflection in the importance of writing stuff down, or just taking that time to think about, like journaling is such a good practice. So I just think for the health of our brains and our souls to just like look and say, and it's fine to like not be, we don't want to stay the same. A lot of us, we want to keep growing and keep morphing into the person, the best version of ourselves. But we also, that it's so incredibly important to take that time out to say, like, wow, I've come this far. Like, I'll share my story about, growing up and my parents getting divorced when I was 12, and just like the things that I saw and experienced and whatever. For me, it's like that was just like normal growing up. But I share the story and people are like, holy crap, dude. Like, the fact that it's even weird for me to share that people say this, because I'm like, it's just my life. I don't, it's just normal, right? That's all of our stories. And that's why we are never like, my stories, there's nothing special to it. It's just my story. But you start sharing it, it's like, dude, are you serious? Like, you went through that, and you own a business, or not that it takes much to own a business. And I'm downplaying all of my things right now, but that's just the gist of, I think, the importance of reflecting on your own to celebrate some of these, just so that you're not like I don't think the point in all of this is to just keep building and get bigger and bigger and make more money. It's like, what is it for? And if you're not looking at the celebrations and the milestones and, the friends along the way, and it's like, what the heck, man? Like, why? I think there's so much more that we were made for. We were made for so much more.
Bet they didn't
Something
know
like
they were going to
that.
be serenaded today. But I'll tell you
Is
this
that
though,
what you call
man.
it?
Your story's not that special. My parents got divorced when I was 12 too. So
I was waiting for like a killer soundbite. I did not know you were going to make me spit my water out. Okay. Yeah.
no,
Great.
no,
Cool,
but
man. Thanks.
It's true. And the more I dive into how the human brain works and how it's formed and all the things, like everybody should celebrate. Like actually, by the time this comes out, he was already announced as a speaker, but my friend Dov Baron, who is one of the thought leaders in neuroscience and all these things, he
Yeah.
talks about how like 90% of your programming happens by the age of 7. Right. And so, like, especially if you're in a broken home, because by the way, if your parents got
Mm.
divorced by 12, speaking from my own example, like the house was broken long before 12.
Yeah.
And you experience that. Right. And so all
Yeah.
of this
Yeah.
programming goes
100%.
in. But congratulations to you for being able to reprogram, rewire, get to a
Yeah.
place where
Yeah.
you're a successful entrepreneur. And like all those things are massive wins that people don't celebrate enough, right? And then losing a
Yeah.
parent at a young age. I lost my mom in 2015. What did that do for you when your dad passed? How much did that change your perspective on life?
Oh man. I mean, everything went from, yeah, I think it'd be cool to, build something to have some kind of a legacy or something before he passed. And this was really like at the very, actually, I didn't even start my business. I was still working at the college when he passed. So as I stepped into full-time video, and then I shoot this, my first wedding, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can help these families like cherish some of the legacy if I interview the grandparents or the parents and they capture part of their stories. And like this, it just became this drive of like, I want my life to matter. And I think it will matter if I can help people see how much their lives matter.
Yeah. I mean, you literally help shine a light on their wins and the things that
Yeah.
they were able to accomplish. And I think that's massive, man. But why is that, do you feel, is so important to you?
You're just trying to go deeper, aren't you? I see you. I see
You
you,
gave me
man.
all the tips, man. I'm a quick learner, quick study.
Yeah. I think, I had a therapy session, this is almost a year ago to the date. And I mean, I had many therapy sessions, but this one stood out as I was sharing more like some childhood stuff with her name's Lana, and she said something along the lines like, "Hey, what if your 10-year-old daughter went through that? Like in." I'm going to try not to get emotional because pretty much every time I start thinking about her at my age and a little bit younger, like being 8 years old and like, hearing and seeing the things that I saw, I'm just like, it's not okay. And then she's like, so what would you say to yourself as, this 8-year-old? I'm like, dude, like, she said that. I'm just like, just a ball of tears. I'm like, you trying to articulate. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah. So, I think part of the feels that I feel for people is that I know that and I don't want to sound like a therapist and be like, oh gosh, we all got daddy issues and like, just like all the stuff. But I do think, like your buddy says, by the time you're 7, like all of these things so many things have been formed inside of your brain that can be reprogrammed, which is fascinating. So I just know that there's a lot of hurt in all of us, and things just haven't been fair to most all of us. But there's so much more. There's opportunity to heal and to get past that, and then to get to, I got to a point where I could say thank you to my dad, where like I feel like so much of the things that I was angry at and frustrated about, it was so toward him. And I got to a point a few years ago where I could just say, God, thank you for the dad that I had. He was far from perfect, but he's all I had, and he did the best that he could. And when I could get to a place where I could say that and actually mean it, I mean, it's just like incredibly healing. But I also believe it so much so, and maybe because I see myself as a parent, I got 3 kids, and I'm like, man, how bad am I jacking them up in whatever ways they're going to be in therapy? Like, my dad cared so much about me. Like, what the heck? Like, help me. It's like, wait, what? So I think I just carry that with me, and when I think about video, I know that this is something that it can last forever. I mean, today we're working with businesses and we're trying to help entrepreneurs make more money, right? Make a bigger impact, really, at the end of the day. Like that's the thing. I think I'm like, if I work directly with entrepreneurs and I have a show that's for business owners and I create an event that's for people, business leaders and stuff, I can have a bigger impact than making one video for this business here or making another business here. So for me, it's about influence and it's about impacting people and helping them. And I think all of that is like when you can reflect and understand where you came from, where you're at, and then also look where you're going. It's all like, wow, like, can you believe that? Like this, what a vision that you have. This is incredible. So I think just all of that like is inside of me. And as I get older and I process more and more, because I take time to reflect and to think and to share with others and to go counseling and all this stuff, it continues to become more and more apparent, like why I do the work that I do and why I care about it so much and why I've transitioned from like making one video for a family to saying like, oh, how do I impact or help a whole family or a whole business or a whole, just like, I don't know, I just got this driving me and it's driving me crazy.
But it is, by the way, it's so funny that you talk about your kids going to therapy. We're all imperfect humans, right? Like once you acknowledge that, you can begin to grow.
Yeah.
I've said to my stepkids, like when you're older, you're gonna be in therapy, and that's cool. Therapy is a good thing. Like I encourage it, and you're gonna talk
Yeah.
about me, and that's okay too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's just we're trying to figure this out for the first time,
Yeah.
right? This whole human
Yep.
thing. And
100%,
it's
man.
just a wild ride, dude. But shout out to you for acknowledging that because a
Mm.
lot of people can't even get to that point. They
Yeah.
can't even get to the point where they think that they may need to talk to a therapist or may need
Yeah.
to whatever, or try and be a little bit better every day. So that's awesome, dude. But I want to ask you a question. I ask every single person on this show. It's a two-part question. First part is, what is your definition of success? The second part is,
Mm.
what are three things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Success. I would say for me, I took a long. I started dating Andrea when we were both in college. We were friends for like a year. She dated like a best friend of mine. I thought they were going to get married, so we were just buddies. And then they broke up, and I was like, oh. And then she changed her major. We started having classes together, and then we started studying together. And then we're like,
Stole your best
hey, like,
friend's girl, man.
yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, I probably did slowly, but just she realized. So anyway, we start dating, and we're like 2 months into dating, and she tells me, she's like, I want to marry you. So whenever you're ready, like just ask me and I'll say yes. And I was just like, oh
Wow.
my gosh. All I'm thinking about for months and months and months, I'm writing in my journal, all of my prayers. I'm just like, God, I don't want to screw this up. I'm getting married one time. I've seen, every single marriage in my family, my parents and my step parents and my aunts, uncles, grandparents, like just like everybody. This is like not healthy marriages, not. And I had seen and experienced some really healthy ones like later on in high school and in college. And I said, that's what I want. And so I don't want to screw this up. So you better make it really, really clear that she is the one. So, at some point I felt like this is good. And we got married in 2003. And so what is that? 22. We've been married for 22 years, going on 23. And she still likes me and I still really like her. And we're growing. I mean, this week we just had a really hard conversation. It's like it's kids related, but it's us related. And I'd say that me being able to early on in building this business, my focus wasn't on, I want to become super rich and super famous and all of those things. It was, I want to build something. I want to have some freedom so that if I can work at home, that would be fun. If we can go on a vacation, that would be cool. And if I just can make more choices than what I felt like my parents had growing up, I'm like, how cool would that be? And so I worked really hard to get to a place where well, I still work really hard, but to a place where I didn't have to be the only one and I could pass things off and other people could do the things. And if I wanted to step away, if I wanted to take, 8 to 10 weeks off of work a year, I could do that and the business would still go. So I think success for me is getting to that spot in my relationship with Andrea and with my kids where, I'm an assistant coach for my daughter's field hockey team, help out I'm on the PTA with, it's just a bunch of women and me, but for the elementary school, I'm super involved in the community, really close with a bunch of, we have a bunch of friends that we meet with on a regular basis. And, the fact that I can do that and not feel stressed about work and just feel like, yeah, this is why I work so that I can I do these, wait, I have the opportunity to do the things that I want and work isn't the thing that I feel slave to. I mean, I got to show up. I still, I have
Of course.
responsibilities here, but I think I want a lot more money. It'd be great to have a lot more money in the bank and have college paid off for all of my kids and all that stuff. We're not there yet. But that's, that'll be cool. But I don't think that for me, that's not how I'm defining success.
Yeah, dude, I love it. What are three things you do every day to ensure that?
What are three things that I do every single day? I think, I wake up and I have a mindset. I'm I'm that annoying person that's on that on Monday. I'm like, it's Monday. It is like happy Monday. Here we go. And literally everybody else is like, oh gosh, like here he comes. So I think just mindset, like it's gonna be a great day every day. Like my 10-year-old, she's probably so tired of me saying that every single day. So I think just being very intentional about saying that out loud and just knowing that and believing that and whatever happens, it's gonna work out. Everything's working out for me. So that's one. um to I mean, like there's, I love my ideal morning is like I get up, I exercise for an hour, I meditate for 10 minutes, I'm able to journal, read my Bible, just reflect and think about the day. And when I get that, like, 2.5 hour block in the morning, dude, it's lights out. I just feel like on top of the world and I can conquer it all. So when I'm able to do that, like, the rest of the day is just great. That's not every day. Batting like maybe 250, 300. But I think just trying to figure out like how to show up for other people. One of the phrases that I have is like, I just want to bring the joy, whatever room I'm in, whatever space that I enter. I want to bring the joy, so other people just feel lighter and feel like they can laugh no matter what's going on. So I don't know. Is that 2.5 things? It's almost three.
It's you said more actually. You said workout, meditate, read the Bible.
Overachiever. That's right.
Yeah.
Crushing it.
I'll tell you what, man. I ask that question every single time, and that's actually the common thread between every single person I've ever interviewed. And that common thread is like it's all to make sure that they are at their peak position in order to serve the people around them.
Mm.
And that's really what I've gleaned from this. The only person who said they do absolutely nothing every single day, like there's nothing on repeat, was Bert Kreischer. And it was like one of those things where he's like, I do. He was like laughing through it. He's like, I'm not consistent in anything that I do. I'm like, that's fair, and it shows. But it's just absolutely wild.
Mm.
But I want to ask you this: a lot of this conversation, without actually saying it, was about legacy, right? Like,
Mm.
what legacy am I leaving behind? You talked a lot about your kids. You really
Yeah.
shined a light on the wins for your clients when you create the stories for them, when you do all these things. And I want you to fast forward to the end of your life, and I want you to imagine that everything you've created, which is a ton, has disappeared and it no longer exists on the planet, and you can only be remembered for one sentence. What would you want that sentence to be?
Whew, man. Jeez. This is how the video opens. This is like, yeah. Wow. Hmm. Uh, this is why I don't have a tattoo, by the way.
It's very
This is the
permanent.
exact. It's very permanent. Like, what's the thing? I think I strive to. I strive to be a person. I don't think I'm the best at this, but I strive to be a person that really shows that I care about other people, and I want people to feel and know that they're loved. And so I don't know. I think if people could somehow articulate that, like, I've heard it said. I think when I turned 40, one of somebody made a video for me, and my wife had the video made. My editor actually put it together, but somebody said, when you're in conversation with Ryan, or when you're with Ryan, it feels like you're the only person in the room. So I think something like that would be cool.
It's beautiful, man. And I've never been in a room with you, but I can say on Zoom you're 100% locked in the conversation. So that's so true. And honestly, the more I talk to him, like we got to hang out. We have to we have to find the time in person to hang
Got to
out
do
for
it.
sure. But dude, I wrap up every single interview with the same question. But before we get there, how can people find you? How can they work with you? What's all the good stuff?
All the good stuff. Okay. I hang out on LinkedIn. So that's probably like socially where, I try to talk about smart business stuff and show off like, all the things that I care about business wise. But if you want my shenanigans, Instagram, Ryan Koral, in both of those places, it's Koral. I just am launching this thing that I'm really excited about. Since day one, it took me a long time to realize that this is like at the core. I always say we tell stories, kind of get to the heart and soul. Video with soul is what we do. We get the heart and soul of brand so that people have their differentiator. But if you don't have proof, if you're always the person selling the thing that you do, it becomes really, really hard. When you have other people talk about how great you are and how you changed their life, and like that's when it becomes a lot easier. So we've created so many testimonial videos over the years. We're like, oh, let's create this as a tool, as a technique. Let's give people the technique so that they can be doing this. Because raise your hand if it would be nice to have more testimonials on your website, video testimonials. I mean, would it be nice to have some video testimonials of people saying like, man, you changed my life. I've been able to charge this and do this and experience this and all these things. Thank you so much. So we have this brand new framework that we're calling Proof, and you can download. It's a toolkit, and essentially like if you want more sales, better sales, like autopilot, like this is not, it's not rocket science. It's very, very simple. You can download this thing today and get your first testimonial. I mean, maybe not the same day because you got to kind of find time and a little bit of schedule of somebody else's. I sent a text message to one of our clients last night. I said, hey, would it be cool if you said something like, I just like this is sort of part of the framework, but like, this is how easy it was for me to do this. She's like, yes. And then she gave me like a whole other sentence of how we've helped her. I'm like, holy crap, this is like the most powerful testimony I think we've ever given. So anyway, we're calling it Proof. If you're interested, you can go to tellstudios.com/proof, PROOF, and it's tell, like we tell stories, TELL, studios.com/proof. You can get the toolkit there. And I'm super duper excited about it because again, when I'm talking about impact and having a greater impact, I really think that this is going to be a toolkit that people are going to be able to use and get a lot of benefit for their business out of it.
Well, I'm going to download it after this conversation. So know that as you're listening to this, I've already had it for a couple weeks, and so dude, I love it, man. So guys, make sure you go check that out. Like I said, I wrap up every single interview with the same question. Since this show is called the Growth Down Movement, that question is: in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
I think in 2021, it was 21. I was at a mastermind retreat and I'd had my business for a super long time. And I was sitting on an idea that I had experienced a ton of imposter syndrome and perfectionism, and I hadn't launched the thing. And, but I knew, people ask me, well, it's going to help people, right? I'm like, yeah, but I want it to be this and that. And this is like, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, dude, like you've been sitting on this idea for years. I'm like, yeah, I know. But like the longer that you sit on this, the longer you go without serving all these people and helping these people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was a turning point for me. And these different sayings like go ugly early, or you don't learn until you launch, done is better than perfect. All of those just became like, if I'm going to get a tattoo, it's probably going to be one of those. Being a filmmaker and doing high end stuff for the super long time, everything needed to be perfect. And then looking at other people in my industry and just feeling like, man, like everybody else is like way better than me. I hope they don't find out that, my stuff actually sucks and we're, whatever. But it was in that moment, that experience with those people, with that group of friends, those fellow masterminders, that I realized I needed to stop holding back and not caring about what my peers think, and remember like who I'm trying to serve with the work that I'm trying to do. So I would say that's been, I think, one of the most impactful sort of pivots in my career.
I love it. Ryan, man, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience. And more importantly, dude, thank you so much for allowing people to see the light they are in the world, because that's
Mm,
really your gift, dude. This has been amazing. Thank you.
appreciate it, Justin. Thanks.